How's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Skyline Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jack Hartman, joined, as always, by my good friend and co-host on the West Coast, co-host this Super Bowl weekend, Nick Normand. Nick, how you doing today?
Doing well, doing really well, Jack. I'm hosting a Super Bowl party this Sunday. Really stoked about that. Just like putting the finishing touches on it, getting everything figured out as far as food and games and stuff. And I have bingo boards for a bunch of stuff that's going to happen in the Super Bowl and have that all figured out. ChatGPT, thank you so much for assisting me with making said bingo boards. And I'm also going to do a fun thing of a game of people predicting like what color they think the Gatorade is and have a cool logo, and they can pick from the color options there. So I think it'll be some fun games, good game going on, but really excited about that. Looking forward to this Super Bowl. How are you doing today, Jack?
Yeah, doing well. Tired, but that is to be expected when you have a 3 week old. But no, we're doing well. She's doing great. Is happy and healthy. We're truly blessed right now, and yeah, I'm excited, but it's also bittersweet every year with Super Bowl Sunday, because it means that the off season begins, which sometimes can be more fun and more exciting in certain ways. I've been kind of chomping at the bit to get into draft mode and stuff like that. But still, it's bittersweet that the season is coming to a close. But that does not mean that we're going to be slowing down. We will still be recording. We'll be doing our draft analysis, doing mock drafts, stuff like that. We've got a lot that we still need to talk about. We haven't even talked about the coaching carousel. We haven't talked about the awards show that was last night. We haven't even talked about the end of the college football season, just because life has been so crazy for one of us since the start of the new year. But regardless, we're still going to be here, still going to be doing stuff. We're not slowing down just because the football is slowing down at all. But yeah, no, it's going to be good. Excited about the game this week. No big plans for us. We're still at that stage of don't make big plans because any and all of them can be gone at a moment's notice. So it'll just be us, as far as, at least as of right now, it'll just be us at home, just enjoying the game. So we're looking forward to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Jack. Well, today we're going to get started with some immaculate grid. Let me just open that up for us. There we go.
Sweet.
And we haven't done this in a while, man. I'm super
No.
stoked because like the football trivia needed to soak through my brain, and we get a Super Bowl champ category today. Man, excited about it.
Cool.
I'm seeing Deshaun Jackson several times here for Washington and either of these, and Pro Bowl, to be honest. All these could be Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know why, I don't know where I'm pulling this from, but a guy who had a sneaky, incredible year, like 1 year with Washington, good enough that he became a Pro Bowler, is running back Alfred Morris.
Oh, yeah.
He had one Pro Bowl year.
Yeah. 2012, his rookie year. He had 2 good years, actually, I think. But his rookie year was like 1,600 yards.
Yeah, something nuts.
Oh, yeah. A 1%er.
There we go.
Look at that. That's awesome.
That's the type of rarity score we want. All right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Chris Long for Eagles and Super Bowl champ. I'm trying to think, is there anybody more vague? Nelson Aguilar?
Malcolm Jenkins.
Malcolm Jenkins. I like Malcolm Jenkins there. Let's go with Malcolm Jenkins.
Okay.
Ooh, man.
Dang. All right.
Looking right now. Antonio Brown for the Buccaneers Super Bowl winner.
See, I was gonna go with their other Super Bowl, their earlier in the 2000 Super Bowl, and go like Rondé Barber. That's sort of where my head was at.
But he's just too obvious, I think, because Rondé was so good. I was thinking Scotty Miller, actually, former Steeler this year.
That could work.
Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller. How do I spell this dude's name? Hello?
I think you're going to scroll for a while, but
Scott
Scott Miller.
Miller. Yes, Scott Miller. 3
Nice.
percenter. Feel good about that.
Okay.
Mm,
Terrell Owens works in a few places.
yep.
He works
Right
there. He
there.
works as
There.
Cowboys Pro Bowler.
True. True. DeMarcus Ware. Zach Martin. There any other Trevon
Jason
Diggs? I kind of like Diggs here, just because Diggs, I feel like, is just.
I feel like that might be obvious.
You think?
I feel like I feel like most times the more recent answer is the obvious answer.
Yeah. Yeah. What about?
Did
about
Dion go to a Pro
stuff
Bowl when
around
he was
here?
at when he was in
He for
Dallas?
sure did. He for sure did. He was the best corner in the league. We can go Dion. Dion's gonna be. Am
I
I
would say
spelling it
Dion or
right?
T.O.
I like Dion better there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
look at that. Buck and Cowboy.
Pro Bowl and Super Bowl champ. There are gonna be so many that could fit there.
Fun.
So many that even something that feels obvious wouldn't be that obvious. Like Peyton Man. I could see Peyton Manning being like under
5%.
5%.
Yeah,
Like that's just how these things work sometimes.
because there are so many of them. Okay, Ad. You can go away. Cowboys, are there any? Oh, what about McNabb?
I think
Or is
that
that too obvious?
I think
McNabb or
that would be
Deshaun
more
Jackson?
obvious.
I agree. Washington, for some reason, Taylor Heineke is popping to mind, but I don't think he was a Buck. I know he was.
No, he was with Atlanta. Did Ryan Fitzpatrick ever play for Washington?
Yes, he for sure did. And he was a Buck. We can go Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, let's do Fitzpatrick there.
Oh,
dang.
That's our worst one so far.
Oh, we should have done Deshaun Jackson there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, well. Hey, we've done well enough that 5 spots were still below 50%. So.
Yep.
Cowboys Bucks. I'm struggling.
Cowboys Bucks. Quarterback, running back, corner.
I don't know.
Oh, what about? Did he ever play a game for the Cowboys? Gerald McCoy, because Gerald McCoy was a longtime Buck, but then he got signed to the Cowboys, and I don't know if he tore his Achilles immediately before ever playing for them. Because you do have to play in a regular season or playoff game.
Right.
I kind of just want to Google it, but that feels a little cheatery.
That's
but I know that he
for
played
sure.
for both. No, I know he played for both, but man, Washington Eagles, Djax, who else?
I'm thinking Jackson or McNabb. I don't know who else. Jahan Dotson.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's recent, but it's so much more insignificant than Deshaun Jackson or.
It's fine.
That's okay.
Fine. Yeah, Cowboys. Amari
I know that
Cooper. No.
T.O. played for the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Yeah. That feels like it's going to be really high, though.
Yeah, probably.
Did Prescott have any weird backup quarterbacks that would fit either of these? McCown, Kenny Pickett. The Eagles have had some weird backup quarterbacks too.
Yeah. Tanner McKee.
Yeah. McKee.
Cowboys had Trey Lance as their backup.
Michael Gallup. Who did Michael Gallup sign with after the Cowboys?
Oh,
He
hey,
signed with somebody.
didn't Miles Sanders have a year with the Cowboys?
You're right. He just did. He just did. 8% feels good.
Nice.
Okay.
So the weird thing is, I can think of lots for Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, but the concern is how high of a pick that's going to be, and I can think of like nobody for Cowboys Bucks.
Yep. I get you. Bucks. Were there any other weird quarterbacks for the Bucks? Tom Brady, Jameis,
Kyle Trask.
Trask. Trask hasn't played anywhere else though. I think
No.
Baker. Josh Johnson? Did Josh Johnson play for both of these teams?
There's a chance, but
that's more of a risk.
yeah.
Let's just think of a vague Super Bowl Pro Bowler right now, I think.
Manning, Vinatieri. Want to go like really obscure with like a
Vinatieri.
kicker?
What about was he a Pro Bowler or just an All Pro? No, he didn't win a Super Bowl though. What about what's his name? The special teamer for Slater, Matthew Slater for the Patriots, who was like an 8-time All-Pro special teamer. This is gonna be, there we go.
What a great pick.
Look at him. He just looks like a guy. Okay. The only guy, Gerald McCoy, is the only one coming to mind. Were there any corners or DB? Keanu Neal or KZ? Did KZ or Neal play for the Bucks? Because I think both played for the Cowboys. I'm sure both played for the Cowboys. In modern times.
I can't think of anybody. So if you've got a shot in the dark, do it.
I just ripped Gerald McCoy and it wasn't this. Let me just keep guessing. Okay. Is there show summary? No thanks, maybe later.
I bet Fitzpatrick was the most obvious one for
okay. Brad Johnson apparently played for the Cowboys. Vinny Testaverde, I don't remember him as a Cowboy. Joey Galloway, I could have gotten. Let's see all players by year, recent ones. Brian Anger. Keanu Neal was right. Oh, man. That would have been better. Nick Leverett. Just like there haven't been that many dudes. In the last decade, there have been a dozen maybe. But like, look at some of these names. Michael Bennett, I don't remember that.
All of that had to have been end of career Michael Bennett.
Weird. There any other? Let's see. Alvin Harper, I don't remember him on the Bucks. Cole Beasley. When was he a Buck? 2022 for 2 games. Okay. All right, Cole Beasley. And
so
I just want to check on Gerald McCoy just for my own.
Yeah.
Just for my own self. Gerald McCoy, all the way at the end of his career. signed a 3-year deal with Dallas, but suffered a quad injury in practice and was released before ever playing a game. Yep,
Dang.
that's what I thought. Damn. Felt good. Felt good, though. It's okay.
Not
Anyway,
bad.
it
8
was
of
a lot of
9, not
fun.
bad.
Yeah. It was good. We were a little rusty, but that's all right.
Hey, we
That's
had
all
some
right.
good ones though.
For sure. For sure. But anyway, getting into this Super Bowl that's coming up on Sunday between the Seahawks and the Patriots, obviously a rematch of the 2014 one, which was a legendary Super Bowl. That Super Bowl obviously having the interception that everybody remembers with Malcolm Butler. For you, Jack, are there any sticking points that or just sticking in your mind, at least when looking forward to this Super Bowl, that you think like, wow, this is really going to swing the game. This is really like, you see that this turnover, this position group, this player rising to the occasion. Like, what do you see as the main angles you're looking at going into this game?
Yeah, I think before even getting into that, the one thing that I think is really, really important to to mention and remember, and especially if you think about recently, within the last 5 years, we have had 6 years, we have had two different Super Bowl matchups happen twice. It was in the Chiefs Niners and Chiefs Eagles. And I think because of that, there's a lot of people talking about this Super Bowl and are immediately thinking about the previous meeting between these two teams.
Mhm,
That happened like a decade ago. Like,
mhm,
I don't think you can point to a single player on each of these teams' rosters that was on the roster when that last game happened. And so I think it's just important to mention that, like, totally different coaching staffs, totally different teams. This is going to be very different, right? And it's hard to separate that because we had, you know, Chiefs 49ers, and then 2 years, or 4 years later, we had Chiefs 49ers again, or we had Chiefs Eagles, and then 2 years later we had Chiefs Eagles again, right? And the coaching staffs and a lot of the roster was very, very similar between both iterations of those games. So
mhm,
it's really easy to get tricked into doing that comparison game to this matchup that
mhm,
already happened, but we can't do that. The game that game happened, you know, like I said, like a decade ago.
mhm,
So I think it's important to preface with that. Um, Something that I think people are going to talk about like it's very important, but I don't think it will be very important. Is people are going to be asking, can Sam Darnold handle the pressure? Can
mhm,
Sam Darnold handle the pressure? That's what's going to be asked. I think what we saw in the NFC Championship game is that he absolutely can't handle the pressure. And I think what we saw in the divisional round is that he can handle the pressure. And I think what we saw in the last 5 games of the regular season is that Darnold can handle the pressure. Like I am not I am more ready to question Drake May's ability to handle the pressure than Sam Darnold's. That's where I'm at. Um, I can see a world where the Patriots win. Drake May does not have a good game, but the Patriots win. I can see a world where the Seahawks lose and Sam Darnold has an amazing game. I'm not too concerned about Sam Darnold's ability to show up. Um, I think more and more, especially after what we saw in the NFC Championship game, with what we've seen in a few really big regular season games in the NFC West this year from Darnold, like the last 2 games of his tenure in Minnesota, I feel like were scheme based and not Darnold based in terms of the way that
mhm,
he looked against those teams and the way that they lost. Um,
mhm,
so I'm not I'm not here to here planting the flag that you know it like well is Darnold finally gonna fall and collapse, because I feel like he's, at least to me, he's proven enough. Like,
mhm,
he may have a bad game, and if so, it'll just be he's having a bad game, not like, oh, here it was, we were expecting this out of him. Like, despite having lots of turnovers this year, if we look, in the playoffs and say the last 3 games of the regular season, he's taking care of the ball very, very well. And so I think he's peaking at the I think he's think he's peaking at the right time, and so I'm not concerned about him. Um, I think it'll be really interesting to see how disciplined Seattle's defense is in this game. Uh, Despite them winning and beating the Rams, there were certainly some lapses that the defense had, and so can Seattle's defense play disciplined enough, learn from their mistakes against the Rams to play a much better game against the Patriots? I think that'll be interesting, and I think it'll be interesting to see what the Seahawks are going to be able to exploit from New England. I think Seattle is by far the best team that New England is going to face all year. I mean, obviously they're in the Super Bowl, and there's been much mentioned about the Patriots' schedule this year. I've always been of the mindset like, listen, you have to play who you have to play, and if you handle business against them, then so what that they're a bad team or whatever. But that said, I don't think they've faced a team near the caliber on both sides of the football as Seattle, and so it'll be really interesting to see. New England keeps rising to the occasion. Are they going to rise to the occasion again this time around?
Mm-hmm. I get you there. I do think this is very much a rise to the occasion game where both of these teams, I think, are at least a little bit doubted. I think that us as the consumers have kind of warmed up to the Patriots, though, in terms of like, wow, Drake May's really good. They're really well coached, and seeing them in a well-rounded way. And I think we've also really warmed up to, wow, the Seattle Seahawks are really talented. Their defense is really good. Their offense is really good. They're really well coached. They have great special teams, and seeing them through that kind of prism. The couple of things that I'll push back or kind of challenge on is that I feel like it's like common consensus that the Patriots are a little, not fraudulent, but a little bit like, wow, the schedule was so easy. Wow, well, they played against Justin Herbert, who played terribly, and then CJ Stroud, who played terribly in the playoffs, and then Jarrett Stidham. And it's like, even the playoff path, was it that hard? And then I feel like you're also just kind of viewing things through that lens. But I feel like one thing that I think is kind of under-discussed a little bit is that Sam Darnold, obviously, to me, the Rams games this year have really stuck out, whether it was the 2 regular season ones or the 1 playoff one. The Rams were who he lost to in the playoffs last year in the wild card round when he was with the Vikings. And so basically in a calendar year, from the wild card round last year to the divisional round this year, basically a calendar year, he played the same team 4 times and basically the same defense every single time. The personnel is almost the same completely, and the scheme hasn't changed really at all. And so I'm really curious for Darnold with how heavy those Rams games weigh, that he obviously played poorly in the playoff game last year, played poorly in the first game where he threw 4 interceptions against the Rams this year, played poorly for the first 3 quarters against the Rams in the other regular season game, then played well in the fourth quarter in overtime, and then played really well in the playoff game this year. That I feel like because we're seeing this progression against the same exact team over and over and over again, that this Patriots team, who's not as talented probably as the Rams, is just because they run a different scheme, because their personnel is different, that we haven't really seen them go up against the team in this vein, in this way, I feel like. And so it's not that the Seahawks are fool's gold or anything, but because I feel like we've been looking at Seahawks Rams over and over and over and over again, and just seeing him improve in that way, that I don't know that that translates. Because obviously they smoked a team like the 49ers, but the 49ers, the talent deficit's insane in that matchup. And we saw that matchup late in the regular season and in the playoffs. And the Seahawks basically smoked them both times. One in a very close game, not very close, but a very low scoring game, and then a blowout the second time. I just feel like when those are the high leverage games for this Seahawks team, when it's blowouts against a terrible 49ers team or 4 games for Sam Darnold against the Rams, that I just don't know that the sample size has enough variety to really make me feel very confident in Sam Darnold. But I definitely feel more confident than I did a calendar year ago with Sam Darnold. And so I feel solid about that. The other thing that I'm just going to push back on is that you said I could see Sam Darnold playing poor and they win, or I could see him playing really well and they lose.
I said
I
I could
don't.
see Drake May playing poor and
Okay.
them winning. I could see Sam
Okay.
Darnold playing really well and them losing.
Okay. I don't know that I see Sam Darnold playing really well and them losing, and I don't know that I really see Drake May playing really poorly and them winning. Those are the two outcomes I think that I see as being very, very unlikely. I think that if you get a great Sam Darnold game, that like the Patriots are just dead. If Sam Darnold throws for 2 touchdowns, 250 yards, and no turnovers, like I just don't know that the Patriots can do anything about that. If Drake May has 1 touchdown, 2 turnovers, and sub 200 yards, like the Patriots are just losing. Like that's just a matter of fact about it. I feel like the main path for the Patriots is Sam Darnold doesn't play a clean game and Drake May plays a very good game. 1 turnover or less for Drake May, I feel like will be the maximum. You get multiple turnovers from May, and I think this Patriots team is dead unless Sam Darnold throws 4 interceptions or something. And I don't know that I see that in this game. I do think that there will be at least a couple of turnovers in this game, will be what I'm looking at with this game.
Yeah, I think I I agree with you that I think the most unlikely outcome is a New England win where Sam Darnold plays well and Drake May does not play well. Um, like I agree that that would be probably the most unlikely outcome, but I also don't think that it's impossible. Because I think we've seen in pretty much all three of New England's playoff wins this year, Drake May has had pedestrian numbers. The game against the Chargers, he didn't play great. He played well enough. The Chargers' entire offensive line didn't show up, and so that was the real reason that the Patriots dominated that game. Um, the Houston's poor roster building for their offensive line against the Patriots defensive line, was one of plus the weather was the main contributing factor to in that game. Though Drake May, if you looked at his stats, it was like, oh, he had a good game, but also if you think about the number of times that they got the ball in very favorable field position, it makes you put an asterisk behind, the success that the Patriots offense had in that game. And then, against the Broncos, like Drake May did not have a good game. Like he did not. He had a bad game. Um and thanks to playing against Jared Stidham, thanks to the weather in the second half, the Patriots are able to get away with that. So the Patriots defense I think is good enough that they can help they can help keep the Patriots in the game if Drake May does not have a great game. So I don't think what I do not think that there's an outcome where Drake May plays bad and Sam Darnold plays good and the Patriots win. I think there's an outcome where Sam Darnold plays bad, the Patriots defense picks him up, and because of that, Sam Darnold doesn't play well either, and the Patriots squeak that out in really ugly fashion the way they've won all of their other playoff games. I also think there's a world where Sam Darnold balls out and Drake May balls out. I was like I mentioned earlier how disciplined Seattle's defense is gonna be. There's a world where Drake May balls out and Sam Darnold balls out, and the Patriots win in that sense. So I think I do not think that there is a clear and obvious quarterback of this team does this equals this outcome. I don't think so. I think that's really the point that I'm trying to make because there have been games that Sam Darnold has had this year that if you look at his stats, you're like, not a great game, and they've won, and we've obviously seen that here in the playoffs from Drake May. We've also seen games like the NFC Championship game where Sam Darnold just balled out, looked like, a top quarterback in the NFL, and they've won. And we've seen games like that this year from the Patriots with Drake May as well. So I don't think that quarterback play is going to. I don't think quarterback play alone can be a be all end all of this combination of quarterback and how well they played will equal this outcome of the game. I think that there's too many examples that we've seen of sort of the opposite of those things playing out for us to be able to label like, oh, Sam Darnold plays amazing, the Seahawks win. Oh, if Drake Maye plays terrible, the Patriots lose, right? Like there's just too much variety in outcome based on different performances that we've seen this year.
I get you. I get you there. I will say Drake Maye, of course, has been very impressive. He's a second-year player, and I got to give him a lot of credit for piloting this team in a lot of ways. Him and Mike Vrabel, they did a great job. Mike Vrabel, Coach of the Year, did an amazing job coaching this team. I give a lot of credit to Josh McDaniels. He did an amazing job coaching the offense. I just feel that against this pass defense for the Seahawks, that if Nicky Manwari is healthy enough where like he's not hobbled and not able to, if he's able to play at least a reasonable caliber for himself, I just don't know that the Patriots' weapons are going to be able to do a lot as far as being really explosive. I think Kayshon Boutte maybe could do something as far as a deep ball, but what I'm kind of looking at as being a swing factor for this Patriots offense is Drake Maye's legs. Drake Maye's legs obviously have been a major factor in a number of these playoff games. Rewatching the Broncos tape, Drake Maye completed maybe one or two really meaningful passes that entire game, but he picked up major plays with his legs where he had a long conversion. He had the touchdown with his legs. I just think that it's kind of a get out of jail free card, especially for this team where their offensive line is solid enough where if you can hold up for a second, the Red Sea parts. The linebackers for the Seahawks aren't amazing. They're solid to good, but it's not like you have a Fred Warner who's a heat-seeking missile if Drake Maye takes off that he would just take off Maye's head. You're seeing older dudes and Ernest Jones. Like, they're good players, but it's not like you're going to kill Drake Maye. They should potentially leave a spy on him, I think, if you have somebody athletic enough to really be a spy on Drake Maye. But then I think Drake Maye can kind of pick apart this defense in a way. I'm really looking at Drake Maye's legs and Sam Darnold. I think if he can just play a clean game as far as the turnovers, that they're in a good spot. But those, I think, are some of the quarterback swing factors I'm keeping an eye on. Or I think that Drake Maye could throw an interception, but his legs just make up for that so much where he'd just be able to kind of make it work. Sam Darnold, I don't think he has quite the same get out of jail free card, but I think that he can hold up in a lot of other ways in the same caliber with Drake Maye in this game, especially considering the caliber of defenses they're playing against.
Yeah.
Okay, next question I got for you. Super Bowl MVP. Of course, we've been talking about the quarterbacks. I think quarterbacks obviously get a big slice of the pie when it comes to who we think would be favored to win Super Bowl MVP. If the Patriots win, I think Drake Maye, very likely. If Sam Darnold and the Seahawks win, I think Sam Darnold, very likely Super Bowl MVP. Are there any other players that really stick out to you as far as players you think have a shot to win the Super Bowl MVP here?
Yeah. I think there's certainly a world where Kenneth Walker wins it. There's sort of two schools of thought about what New England will do on defense. Will they sell out to stop Kenneth Walker and beg Sam Darnold to pick him apart, or will they beg Seattle to run for a Super Bowl championship? I don't know the answer. We'll find out, here in a couple days. I think I would sort of lean toward trying to have Kenneth Walker, win the game for Seattle if you're New England. I think a shorter, less possession game favors New England more than Seattle because Seattle's they're able to put up a boatload of points. So if you're New England, you can shorten the game a little bit by really making Seattle run the ball more than they throw it. I could see that being a strategy that New England might have. And if so, I think Kenneth Walker is good enough and Seattle's offensive line is good enough that he could absolutely do it. He could shoulder the load and just ball out, multi-touchdown, over 100 yards, over 6 yards per carry type game for Seattle. Um, I don't see a world where Seattle wins a low-scoring game without the bulk of the offense coming from Kenneth Walker. And so because of that, I don't see a world where Jackson Smith and Jigba wins it. Because like if we look recently, the most recent example of a wide receiver winning it is Julian Edelman. And that
Mhm.
was a very low score. It was 13-3 was the final score. New England did not do much. Tom Brady really did not have your typical Tom Brady Super Bowl performance type numbers. And so they gave it to Julian Edelman. He had a couple receptions, had some yards, he scored a touchdown, and so that was sort of where that came from. So if you try to then place that model in Seattle, for this game, especially thinking about Seattle, I just don't see that happening. Um, and so because of that, I don't see it going to Smith and Jigba. And so if Smith and Jigba has a great game, I expect Sam Darnold to have a great game. And if so, you're going to give it to the quarterback. That's just how that'll go. Um,
Mhm.
so for Seattle, I really see Kenneth Walker's kind of unless, of course, they have some crazy defensive game, like when they played the Broncos in the Super Bowl and they, won that one handedly and they gave it to, a defensive player, just not because of him specifically, but more of just to basically say the MVP of this game is Seattle's defense. So, that could always happen, but I think the sort of the best candidates outside of the quarterbacks would be Kenneth Walker.
Mhm.
For New England, I don't know. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
you talked about Drake May's running ability, which means like if they win, he's probably going to have a really good game in the air and on the ground. He's
Mhm.
their best option for the running game, really. Like they hand the ball off to Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson, but the most consistent run game that they have is Drake May.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I mean I think Kenneth Walker is kind of the best answer and
Mhm.
really the only guy that I can really come up with. What
Mhm.
about you?
I like that. I like that pick. The other the other guy or at least position group that I would really take a look at would potentially be Christian Gonzalez or another Patriots DB. I
Mm,
just think that if this turns into a really low scoring slugfest where it's like 20-13, 16-10, something like that, that like if you get a DB who gets multiple interceptions, that I don't think you see a linebacker or a safety probably getting multiple. But if I see anybody, it would either be Christian Gonzalez, who's an amazing player. I love Christian Gonzalez. I wanted the Steelers to draft him when they traded up and drafted Broderick Jones instead. And
mm,
I feel very justified in that I thought that then and would have worked out. But I think Gonzalez, depending on how they deploy him, if they put him on JSN or if they put him on the number two receiver and like a Rashid Shaheed and then just double JSN, I think either way, if you see a DB getting multiple interceptions or an interception, a forced fumble or something like that, that's kind of the recipe for how you see a non QB or K9 get Super Bowl MVP here. I just think that it could very much be in the vein of like a 2013 Seahawks or a 2002 Tampa Bay team where it's like somebody weird who a DB gets a couple defensive splash plays. Because I think splash plays will be the primary other way outside of a quarterback or offensive weapon. And I agree with you that JSN isn't necessarily the most likely guy because of the game script to get Super Bowl MVP here. Next up, I just was wondering what we how how do we feel regarding both of these quarterbacks and going into next season, depending on what happens here? Do you feel right now with what Sam Darnold has done, with what Drake May has done, that they can do something in the Super Bowl to even catapult them higher? Or kind of where do you see them right now in this quarterback hierarchy we have? We're obviously going to be able to have a clear picture post Super Bowl, but
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like their MOs have kind of changed up to this point where you kind of have at least a solid view of what we're looking at with both of these QBs?
Yeah, I think regardless of outcome of this game, I think that Drake May is on a trajectory to be the best quarterback in the NFL. Um, I think that's the trajectory that he is on. He did not
Mhm.
have a sophomore slump like Jaden Daniels. I think if Vrabel is his head coach and Josh McDaniels is his OC, like
Mhm.
that's just the best. Like that's just the best situation for him.
Mhm.
And you can make the argument right now that he's a top five quarterback in the NFL. You can make the argument. I think the argument against him is equally as valid, but like
Mhm.
it wouldn't be a joke if you were to say that. If you were to try to convince me of that, I would hear you out and say, I see where you're coming from.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm putting him there yet, but I see where you're coming from. And
Mhm.
if you just think about like what he's had in terms of weapons, skill players on the offensive side of the ball, and you've seen how successful he was this year. I
Mhm.
mean, man, imagine if the Patriots are able to find a way to draft one of these, first round caliber wide receivers coming up in this draft. Um, or even like even some of the guys that are having like second round grades on them right now, like Zachariah Branch. Like, man,
Mhm.
I'd love to see Drake May have a talent like him. And so I think he is just really, he is set up for success, but also he is continued to step through the next door, like
Mhm.
ready to be there. Like it's not like, oh, he's set up for success and you have all of these factors around him that are pulling him through. It's
Mhm.
like, no, he is equally walking in step to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And there's plenty more in front of him. So that's sort of how I feel about Drake May. I think if the Patriots win this, um
Mhm.
then it'll really cement him. Uh, if the Patriots win this and he has a good game, it's not the option that I was talking about earlier, where the Patriots win and he has not a great game. If he balls
Mhm.
out and they win, like now now you're gonna find me really hard pressed when it's like, okay, Drake May or Josh Allen. Like, well, I want to
Mhm.
say Josh Allen, but Drake May just had the year that he did, and
Mhm.
he won the big game. Drake May or Joe Burrow. Well, I want to say Joe Burrow, but Drake May just had the year that he did, and he won the
Mhm.
Super Bowl, and he
Mhm.
doesn't have an injury history. Like you start asking those questions. Drake May or
Mhm.
Lamar Jackson? Well, Lamar Jackson's a two-time MVP, but again, Drake May proved he could win the big game. Like that's the air that will be around him if the Patriots
Mhm.
win this game.
Mhm.
Um, for Seattle, I think Darnold is now in a place, whether they win or lose. I think he is in a similar place to where uh, Jared Goff is right now, in that like he is a very, very good quarterback. He is a quarterback that there will be the occasional game that he will really, really struggle. Like that will still happen. However, more often than not, you are winning because you have him as your quarterback, not in spite of having him as your quarterback. Also, no one is going to give him that recognition. No one is going to give him that attention. And Seahawks fans, like Lions fans have been for the last few years, are going to be the ones beating the drum to give him the recognition he deserves. And so that means that he's a top 12, top 10 quarterback in the league, but he's getting talked about like a top 16 quarterback in the league,
Mhm.
meaning that he's just not getting talked about at all, right? Like, we talk about the worst quarterbacks in the league, we talk about the best quarterbacks in the league, and that really means that quarterbacks 11 through 20 are in this like place of like no man's land where they're just not getting talked about, and they're sort of all like bunched together, when in reality the difference between whoever's 11 and whoever's 20 is very vast. um I think that's where Sam Darnold is right now, and that's a fine place to be when you're making the money that he's making, and especially if you go and win a Super Bowl, you know. um if Seattle, and the thing that really really sucks for both of these quarterbacks and both of these teams is whoever wins, everyone's just going to say like, well, look at the path that they had, well, look at his numbers, like everyone's going to find a way to tell the story that they want to tell about how it's insignificant, it doesn't mean much, the quarterback isn't actually that good. Like, everyone's going to find their angle. And that really sucks. It sucks that that's just sort of the status of talking about football, college or NFL. The same thing was said about Fernando Mendoza, in Indiana, right? Um, like, you won a Super Bowl and you are the winning quarterback of the Super Bowl. And like, the status that that gives you is undeniable. And even still, you're going to have people that are going to be saying what they're going to say, and that I really hate that for both of these guys. Because whoever wins it, like, you know, to win a Super Bowl, you have to be a top quarterback in the NFL. Especially like nowadays, really, like, I don't care. People say like, "Oh, well, Drake May didn't face Jackson, Mahomes, or Allen, or Burrow in the playoffs." It's like, who cares? Like that's just a sidebar. But still, that's sort of where I think both of these quarterback status is right now. And I think with the win, um, it'll elevate it for May more than Darnold. Um, I think because of Darnold's past, Darnold's history, even in Darnold's best year, last, like, before this year, even you could even still argue that his year with the Vikings was better than his year this year. In his best year, still the whole story is like, well, look what he did against the Lions in that last game and what he did, like, that's still the whole story. So he won't get elevated that much. People will still talk about like, well, he was such a failure for so long, and then he finally got in a place where he had Kenneth Walker and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Anybody could win there, like that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of talking in circles. But anyway, that's sort of where I feel both these quarterbacks are right now, and where they will end up if they win this weekend.
I get you. I get you there. I do think that Drake May is just clearly the quarterback that people would prefer. He's younger, obviously,
for sure.
and a cleaner prospect by a good margin. I do think that if Drake May plays really well in this Super Bowl and wins this Super Bowl, that I don't know that there's an argument that he's not top three if he wins a Super Bowl and plays well. Like Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, maybe. And then like Drake May, I don't get how you're debating both Lamar and Allen over him. Like, I think maybe you can have one, maybe both. Like, I think he's clearly in the top five if he wins a Super Bowl and plays well in the Super Bowl, despite all the path stuff.
For sure.
I think Sam Darnold, best case scenario right now, if he wins this Super Bowl, would be like kind of what you were talking about like top 10-ish. I think like maybe top 8 if he plays that well. And like, what if he puts up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl and just like looks amazing playing against this Patriots team? I think that there are clearly going to be people being like, well, Jaden Daniels was great as a rookie, but like he's injured, he's thinner, he's only been playing for a year and a half. Like, do I really want him as my quarterback compared to Sam Darnold? Won a Super Bowl, really tough, really physical, really healthy in a lot of ways. Like, I think that you kind of get into those conversations, not necessarily leaning one way or another on them, but I think that in that bulk of 5 through 16 or 5 through 20, what you were saying, that there's a big range that I think Sam Darnold sits right in the middle of, that he moves up near the front of that line with the Super Bowl win and playing very well. So I hear you there. I think Drake May and Sam Darnold both are gonna, like, their legacies can both take a massive leap with depending on how this game goes either way. But
yeah, I think the thing that I think if the Patriots win and Drake May plays well, then Drake May will go from, yeah, he's one of the best young talents, to, is he a top 3 quarterback in the NFL? I think if Darnold plays really well, has that stat line that you just mentioned, and the Seahawks win, I think instead of it boosting, his status, I think the conversation will just be like, oh, is this one of the best performances in the Super Bowl that we've ever seen?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think even if he plays really well, even if Seattle wins, the stigma around him, about, all the turnovers this year, all of that stuff, it'll still be, okay, would you rather, right now you're doing the whole starting your franchise right now. Okay. Do you take Darnold or do you take Stafford? People still say Stafford, despite him being old, despite him not getting it done this year, despite Darnold being much younger and having just come off a Super Bowl. People will say Stafford. You will have people that will take Caleb Williams, like, oh, well, he's younger. Well, he just won a Super Bowl. No, Caleb Williams is younger, right? You'll have people, myself included, that will take Jared Goff, right? You'll have people that'll take Jordan Love. You'll have people that'll, and I'm just saying NFC names, right? Let alone, the AFC that has Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Jackson, Maye, Herbert. Like, I think the conversation, instead of, oh, does this mean that Sam Darnold is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? Everyone will laugh, but they'll go, oh, did Sam Darnold have one of the best Super Bowl performances of all time? And they will have that conversation, but they won't let their overall opinions and feelings of him move up, which I don't think is fair. But I think that'll just kind of be how it plays out.
I get you there. I agree with you in a lot of facets that we're going to be able to see this a lot clearer, but I feel like we have a good idea of how this is going to go with them moving up and down. Score predictions for this game. Yeah. I'll give you the floor. Feel free to let it rip if you have a particular score in mind, how you think they're going to get there.
On the 2nd of January at 3:46 p.m., I predicted that the Seattle Seahawks will win the Super Bowl. I have stuck with that. Everything that I have seen of them in the playoffs has just more and more solidified my feelings about that. I'm taking Seattle to win on Sunday, and I think they're going to win with the score of 31-16. That's what I've got as the final score. I think Seattle is just a far superior team. From what I've seen, I think they're a far superior team. So they played, San Francisco. You could argue San Francisco and the Chargers were sort of in similar places, in the playoffs in terms of injuries that were affecting the team and everything like that. New England won that game, but it wasn't very decisive. Seattle just absolutely obliterated San Francisco. In the championship games, I think Seattle played a far better opponent because of the health factors for both of those teams. I think Seattle played a far better opponent and played far better than New England did, and so I think that Seattle is just a far better team. I'm going to take them to win, like I said, 31-16. I think that in the end, there will be a 2-point conversion or something that comes down, to get New England to 16, and get that, or sorry, not 31-16, 31-15. I think it'll be 31-15. They'll be down, and they'll go for 2 to get it to 15. So, it's technically a 2-score game. That's how you get that weird number. But I trust Sam Darnold. Right now I trust Sam Darnold. He's been playing really, really great football for the last 2 months. And I don't see that slowing down. And I think if they can do what they did to the Rams a couple weeks ago, they can absolutely beat the Patriots by 2 scores.
I get you there. I like that. I have a bit of a different view in how this game's going to go as far as blowout kind of territory. I have it Seahawks over Patriots 24-17. Very traditional score in some ways, but I just feel like right now, with the lens I view it through, that there are going to be a couple of turnovers. Those turnovers are going to generate some short fields. And so I think the Patriots are going to be able to close it from like 24-10 to 24-17 with a random turnover at some point, get a not free 7 points, but get a short field that's going to make it a lot easier for them to kind of keep pace with them. I think that both of these defenses are going to be able to stymie the offenses enough where it's not going to be crazy 40-7 or anything like that, where I don't think this is going to be a blowout. If I'm Jesse Minter, no, McDonald, man, I'm messing up the Ravens guys. If I'm Mike McDonald and I'm coaching up that Ravens team, I'd be really keen and keeping an eye out for a flea flicker, a fake punt, a something, because Vrabel, veteran coach, dude who Belichick scheme, knows how to interweave some of those plays in. And I just feel like Josh McDaniels is the type of dude to toss in a jet sweep option throw, like a something in there where I think there's going to be a trick play that's going to generate a bigger play for the Patriots somewhere in this game. And I'd really keep my eyes vigilant if I'm Mike McDonald in that Seahawks defense, that Seahawks special teams. So I think that there's a bit of a coaching edge with the Patriots because they're the more veteran coaching staff. They're the more experienced in these big games kind of staff. And so I feel like there's just a bit of an edge there in these big games where coaching for an entire season and setting a culture and having good schemes is one thing, but knowing how to call plays and coach in a specific big game and being able to figure out the moments that are the swing moments is something that I think the Patriots have an edge in. And so that's kind of why I think it will be a little bit closer than expected in the Patriots' favor. But I still think that the Patriots' talent deficit, specifically on their offense, is just like kind of ridiculous. Like Kayshon Boutte's a good player. Stephon Diggs at this point's a good player. Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson are both good players. Travion could be a great player, but not a completely well-rounded pass blocking, like amazing player at this point. But I just think that this defense for the Seahawks is amazing, and this team for the Patriots isn't able to just like rack up tons of points. But that's why I think the turnover margin is going to be very interesting in this game. But I favor the Seahawks there. One last thing, Jack, just a little story time for both of us. Favorite Super Bowl memory? Any Super Bowl, any memory, could be of the game, could be the party you were at, the place you were in, what was going on in that moment. Favorite Super Bowl memory for you?
Yeah, I remember in 2008, so February 2008, it was the first February 2009. February 2009. It was not the first, but it was the second Super Bowl after me and my family moved to Central Pennsylvania. And it was the Steelers-Cardinals Super Bowl, the Steelers' last Super Bowl championship. And so, of course, living in, Steelers country, it was really, really exciting. And, I was young enough that I I didn't really have a dog in the fight, for anything, and was just kind of like, yeah, football's fun. I hadn't really come to my own in terms of favorite team, and anything like that. But it was really, really cool to be in and around, a culture of a team that was doing well. And it was cool to see, the Steelers win and to see the way like just everywhere around me was different because of it. That sort of cool factor that comes with football. Of the nothing else matters because our team is doing well type thing. And so that is I found that really, really cool. And even still looking back at it, think that it was really, really cool. And so that's probably my fondest Super Bowl memory. As a as someone like most who hated the Patriots, there aren't many fond Super Bowl memories, growing up because the Patriots were just always winning them. Um, and the time then once I was in college, it was all about the Chiefs. So there was nothing
Mhm.
super special then either, but I definitely remember and have really fond memories of that Super Bowl and what it was like, at school and at church and stuff like that, being around everybody, being really, really excited and happy all at the same time, for their team. It was just really cool. And one of the really cool things about sports that we love about sports is that we can, in theory, we can check everything else at the table, um, or at the door, excuse me, and just enjoy sports. It's harder to do that now, uh, more than ever, and it's harder to do that in our world now more than ever. And heck, there's even, if you're trying to find it, there's even controversy around this Super Bowl. But still, just for those of us that just love the game, it's cool to be able to forget the other stuff and just, hey, let's just enjoy the game. And I got a taste of that even at such a young age, with that Super Bowl.
Mhm. For sure. For sure. That's a very fond memory for me when I was a small child too. That was before football was even in my consciousness, and that Super Bowl was the moment where it kind of entered my brain, and
Mm.
that's part of why I'm a Steelers fan. But one of my fond Super Bowl memories, senior year of college for me, 2021, the 2020 season Super Bowl 2021. It's Tampa Bay versus the Chiefs. Me, senior in college, I was working for CTS, which is our IT department in college where we went to at Gordon. And I didn't realize that I was working that shift on the help desk on that Sunday. And so I had to go in and I was just sitting there in my office, basically doing nothing because it's a Sunday. Nobody needs IT stuff on a random Sunday in February.
Especially
And my
Super Bowl
friends come,
Sunday.
and my friends come, and they're 10 of us or so sitting in that office watching the Super Bowl on the TV. We order Uber Eats, we're eating some food, watching. I'm there doing my IT thing. And that Super Bowl, one, I think, is one of the most unbelievable Super Bowl performances by Mahomes I've ever seen. The stat line looks terrible, but he played incredibly, just like full of heart and effort, where he was ripping throws, where he's laying horizontal in the air, ripping the ball 40, 50 yards downfield. He's running around, running for hundreds of yards in the game that turned into basically nothing because he was flinging the ball after being chased around everywhere and then hitting Tyreek Hill in the face mask and him missing the ball. And it was just an incredibly frustrating game watching Mahomes play that well. But
Hmm.
still, it was younger me, college me being like, well, it's Mahomes. He just knows how to come back from everything. I still think they're alive. And the score differential is crazy, like 10, 17, 20 points, something like that. And I'm like, well, I've seen Mahomes do this. I've seen him come back. And so I just had just some unwavering belief in Mahomes back then. And even though the game was a blowout, and even though it wasn't close, it was entertaining to see Mahomes playing that well, to see old man Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady and Antonio Brown and all those players playing really well in that Super Bowl and kind of just have that kind of last ride in the Super Bowl there. And just like memories with friends and the location and senior year of college for me, last game before like entering the world kind of after that. So a lot of fond memories there, even though the game itself was not amazing. It's some fond memories though.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in for our little Super Bowl preview. We will be hopefully. I guess I can't guarantee anything at this point, but hopefully we will be back next week to break it down. Leave your predictions for scores, Super Bowl MVP, color of Gatorade, how long the national anthem's going to be, whatever you want, whatever prop bets you've got. Make sure to drop those down in the comment section below, and we will talk to you next week after the end of the NFL season, the 2025-2026 season. Just crazy that it's happened this fast. Thanks for being along for the whole ride as we've adjusted and changed how we do things this season to accommodate everything as best as possible. We've really enjoyed ourselves. And so enjoy the game this next week, and we will talk to you next week in the off season. Have a good one, everybody.